I've shared opinions on the forums before and explicitly stated why I held that opinion, only to have people come along and state the real reason why I was saying what I was saying. So, to be clear from the get-go, I am not going to argue against the absolute injection augmenter because I failed to benefit from it, or because I was greedy or lazy or whatever. To the contrary, I benefited greatly from this item and made out like a bandit. Unfortunately, I did already liquidate and spend a good chunk of my Plex and LP during the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, but it looks like I'm still going to be able to make full use of 11 injection augmenters. Based upon current market injector prices, the total value of the bonus SP I'm going to get out of it is in the neighborhood of 60 billion ISK. Now, I'm sure that there were people who were better positioned to be able to put on even more SP, but I still think I came out rather well. In short, I'm not going to argue against the new booster because it disadvantaged me. I'm going to argue against it because I actually, honestly, truly believe that it's bad for Eve. Now, let's see how many people will say I'm being dishonest with the community and or myself before telling me how I really feel. But that's enough of an introduction. Let's get into it. The comments I received on my What is Eve Online video tended to fall into certain categories. Naturally, I received plenty of comments telling me how I sounded like Eeyore, Stephen Wright, and my all-time favorite, a real-life Mr. Plinkett. But I also got comments saying stuff along the lines like, it's impossible for new players to catch up, so there's no point in trying. Of course, I don't believe that to be true, but it does illustrate an important point. In order to attract and retain new players, they have to feel like it's possible for them to be successful at PvP. They need to feel like they can catch up with the vets after having paid their dues. I mean, who's going to play a PvP-centric game when they believe that the bar for character competitiveness is forever receding into the distance and that they'll be relegated to food for wolves and cannon fodder? By now, you're probably wondering how all this ties into the absolute augment injector. Well, first we need to examine the mechanics concerning skill injectors. Under normal circumstances, skill injectors provide diminishing returns based upon a character's total SP. Naturally, this results in older players having to pay vast sums of ISK in order to get the same amount of SP that younger players would get. In theory, this results in skill injectors being more of a tool to help younger players catch up to the vets than it is a tool to help older players pull ahead. In practice, however, younger players can't afford the extreme cost, and older players get around the injector penalties by creating dedicated alts, such as Rorqual and Titan alts. Of course, this is not to say that I don't like the system, because I do. It may not be perfect, but the result is certainly better than if CCP hadn't included any injector penalties at all. Moreover, I think the system works pretty well for medium skill players, as their sufficiently large incomes and modest injector penalties means that they can use them to play catch up with the vets. In short, I think they do a decent job of helping younger players to feel like they can attain parity with the vets and become competitive. And with that, we finally get to my complaint. Specifically, that the absolute injection augmenter circumvents what I consider to be a critical mechanic. Of course, I realize that some of you might bring up the old dev blog about injectors. There, CCP said that they designed it that way in order to preserve the prestige associated with older characters. Yeah, whatever their stated reason, I still maintain that it's had an unintended but beneficial consequence, which I've already explained. And once again, the new booster undoes that. Not only does it allow older players to pull ahead of the pack, but it makes younger players feel like they are being disadvantaged by starting late. And naturally, this is bad. A large and healthy player base is one in which there is a relatively steady stream of new players coming in. They bring in their friends, replace veterans who go on hiatus, and help to achieve a social critical mass which keeps current players logging in. And of course, they play a critical role in keeping the universe packed with content and keeping the lights on at CCP. I mean, this isn't an offline single-player game here. We need other people to play so that we can keep enjoying it ourselves. Thus, we need new players coming in, and we need to hold on to as many of them as possible for as long as possible. Of course, I don't mean to oversimplify the problem. Multiple factors all play a role. Advertisements, gaming articles, YouTube and Twitch content creators, learning corps, nullsec wars, game mechanics, monetization methods, and more all interact in complex ways to influence player recruitment, investment, and retention. However, I assert that one critical component in all this is that new players and potential recruits feel like the game isn't rigged against them, that with work and time, they can and will take their place among the vets. They need to believe that they will become competitive and put up W's with sufficient frequency. And even more important than the truth of the matter, they need to believe that. They need to believe that their losses are due to their own mistakes and not to the result of the deck being stacked against them. After all, mistakes and shortcomings can be worked on. They can be fixed with knowledge and practice. However, a game that's rigged in favor of vets, or whales, or anyone else that's not them, is a game that's not worth playing. Needless to say, I believe that the Absolute Injector Augmenter undermines that, and I don't appear to be alone. Of course, I am surprised at how few other people are concerned by the ramifications of this booster. I mean, as much as E players like to complain, you'd think the forums would be full of people saying it was a bad idea. I mean, E players would complain if CCP was giving out free blowjobs. So, what gives? Have players just not considered the ramifications? Have they been blinded by their desires for more SP? Or am I just an idiot who's reading too much into this? Regardless, I am genuinely concerned about the booster's impact on player recruitment and retention, and I believe that it shouldn't ever be released again. And I felt strongly enough about it that I decided to dedicate a video to the topic. I have no doubt that making a PvP-centric MMO feel fair for most players regardless of skill level, time commitment, and character creation date is a Herculean task. And I'd strongly advise CCP to make sure that they don't do anything to sabotage what they've managed to achieve. And if all that wasn't enough, I don't think it's good for CCP's bottom line either. Currently, the skill injector penalty brackets encourage players to create alts, which undoubtedly helps generate additional revenue for CCP. Items that circumvent those mechanics, however, not only remove that incentive, but also provide an opportunity for some players to merge characters. In short, I think this item should be cause for concern for the players, devs, and the suits. So, thanks for the 60 billion is Christmas gift this year, but you really shouldn't have. Oh, and I'm also concerned as to why this item was released. I mean, seriously, CCP introduced the skill injector penalty brackets for a reason, and without soliciting any sort of feedback from the community, decided to release an item that circumvented them. Why? Were they merely feeling charitable? Did they think it was a good way to increase player engagement during the holidays? Or were they testing the waters? Were they trying to see how we would react to a mechanic that would make it easier for pay-to-win whales to spend cash and gain power? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. But I am kind of afraid that there's going to be some negative ramifications from the Pearl Abyss deal. I mean, so far, everything seems normal. In other words, too good to be true. But I don't want to create a panic. I just want to make sure that the core experience isn't corrupted in order to increase the game's profitability. And finally, I do honestly believe that the primary factor in determining outcomes is player skill. Do you want to increase yours? Well, you should watch Suetonia or Chesser or anyone else really. But I do have some good videos, including my recent series on how to maximize skill point gains while minimizing the cost per SP. And I don't just include basic noob knowledge either, or information only relevant to players of my particular skill level and wealth. I try providing a number of strategies that vary in terms of ISK and time requirements. So check out the trailer if you want to know more. Alright, that's it. Until next time, don't forget to support all your favorite content creators and fly smart.